All right, now unfortunately I'm not ashamed or shy or embarrassed or anything. I have that on the other part of the stage. And did anybody read the Daily Interfaith yesterday? You guys are famous. Wait till you see the story they print after. We all know what it's going to say, right? We're racist, we're xenophobes, we're homophobic, we're anti-government. Well, yeah, that's right. Anti-unconstitutional government. That's the other way to say it. All right, before I kick us off, I just want to remind everybody, please double check your cell phones. Because although we love the ringtone you chose, we don't necessarily want to hear it while someone's speaking. Today we have a big agenda, a long item of things that we need to accomplish. So they gave me a little notepad if I can find out where I kept it, and maybe I can reference it. But we're going to have Sheriff Mack speak first, and you should all have an agenda or a schedule, so that schedule shows you the speaking order as well. So we're going to start with Sheriff Mack, and then we're going to get over to the next couple speakers after lunch, so that way you understand how the day is going to go. Now, a lot of information is going to be coming your way. So if you got to get up, go to the bathroom, get something extra to drink, go ahead and do it. This is an interactive thing. Go ahead, make sure that you're comfortable and you're set up where you can understand everything that's going on. That way you're comfortable. That's one of the most important things. So I just want to talk real quick about the Flathead Liberty Coalition, because those are the folks that are putting this on. And Julie already asked you guys to clap your hands for them, so I won't ask that again. But the title says it all. Flathead, the best place God ever made. So those that just moved here, you can definitely clap, because we know why you're here. Liberty, which is really what we all should clap for, because that's what we're all fighting for. And after the dumpster fire of the year we just had, we understand even more how important liberty actually is. And then the last is a coalition. The coalition is what you see if you just turn to your left and right. It's a grouping of like-minded citizens that just survived a year of tyranny based on a flu, and we all understand that that can never happen again. I want to say that I'm not a politician, because that's just many ticks, and I'm definitely not one of those. And if you understand, there's politicians and statesmen. And if you want to know the difference, a politician advances himself at the expense of the republic. A statesman advances the republic at the expense of himself. And if you're not sure which one I am, I'd like to read your short and ask for the share checkbook, and you'll see right away which one I am. Because I don't make money on you guys. This is a hobby that I love. It's a calling to do this. And that's why every one of you are here. Now I'm honored. I wear this little bitty teapot. Does anybody know what the teapot represents? The Tea Party. So what happened in the Tea Party? Remember back in 2008, we had a horrible president, of course. Now we only look somewhat horrible compared to what we got. But back in the day, Barack Obama was horrible. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to set back race relations forever. We're going to get gun control. We're going to get all these problems. And so by 9 and 10, there was a huge wave of folks saying, wait a minute. Where's our prosperity? Where's our liberty? Where's our country? We don't recognize this. And that's what caused the Tea Party. And I've had many people tell me, Steve, what happened to the Tea Party? And I jokingly say, we took over the GOP. And it's true. So it's awesome to see a new group of people that are looking at a new president, that are looking at new freedoms being stolen, and all of you want to make sure it stops. That's what this is. So, before we begin, I just want to always say this to folks. We meet, we bleat, we eat, we retreat. Right? You came right. You spent your money, you're here. Awesome. We're all going to have a meal together. Another awesome. We praised God. The most awesome. We said the pledge. Awesome. Then we go home. This begins when you go home. There's an action component. The action component happens at your kitchen table, happens at your family barbecues, happens at your reunions, and happens in your church. And that's where you convince those that didn't make it today of what the importance is of a constitutional sheriff and a constitutional county. Right? So if any of you are uncomfortable having that discussion with your family members, especially the ones that are fluid left of center, learn from today on how to do that. And if you're still uncomfortable, meet me in the back, because I've made it a lifelong journey to battle these idiots. and I can help you out in a lot of ways. So, we're not going to meet, but we are going to meet. We are going to eat. And we're not going to retreat, we're not going to just bleed, right?
His father's been training.
Come on, guys, I'm a little higher energy than that. It's funny, I always told the left, I said, the reason we call you guys the left and we're the right is because you're wrong. Isn't it awesome how many things the word right is? We're exercising our rights. I love the word right. All right, so I'm trying to go off, and it's not about me, it's about our speakers. So, I just want to say, first off, do you guys like this event? Do you think this is a good idea to have? All right, so the Liberty Coalition folks and Julie, they're not in politics for 10 years like I've been, so they don't know how to ask for money. Unfortunately, I do. This is not free. This costs money to rent this room. This costs money to bring the sheriff. This costs money to provide the environment for you to learn with. That's why they charge the money for tickets. So please realize that this is an expense beyond the 25. And it's the normal folks that are part of the coalition that spend the most amount of money on it. So all of you that have been here first time ever, please remember this survives on donated money. So I'm asking you, please, when you're leaving today, or when you get up to go to the bathroom, find out who you can leave $5 with, or $2 with, or $1 with, if you want to see things like this happen more in the Flathead, because it's up to us to make that happen. Right. Excellent. So, without further ado, Sheriff Mack. Back in the Tea Party days, we had Sheriff Mack come speak to us, because he was involved in a lawsuit that was a phenomenal lawsuit against the evil Clintons. Everybody remembers the evil Clintons, right? They're like the third evil now, because there's two others that are worse, I think. One didn't even remember that he's evil. I was called the thief in chief. I never called him my president. And I can debate that if you don't think they stole the election. And so Sheriff Mack won a phenomenal lawsuit. You don't want me to debate that, that'd be awesome. Sheriff Mack won a phenomenal lawsuit, and it was the majority decision was written by Justice Scalia. And it is a guidebook for us on how we can use that decision to help us battle the federal government and the tyranny that they're trying to create. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Sheriff Mack.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for that. I don't know if any of you read the paper, but it's kind of on my mind. Not that this is anything unusual, but I just want you to know that Travis McAdam is an expert. He's a former little drip, and they call him an expert, so I'm just trying to define that for you. But I will tell you this. According to Chad Sokol and Travis McAdam, if there's a law that we should be slaves and that we should have slavery in America, it should be enforced until the Supreme Court says otherwise. Isn't that something? So, the movie Harriet was about Harriet Tubman. She should have been arrested and executed because she was leading people to freedom, risking her own life for that. Rosa Parks should have been arrested. Martin Luther King, the numerous times that he was arrested, should have been arrested because they broke the law. And Raina, I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you. And folks, this is really what they're saying to us, that we cannot defy tyranny. We should have never had a Revolutionary War. The Founding Fathers should have shut up and obeyed the law. So, we're not going to do that. I don't like being up on the stage. Can everybody see me okay? I think you can hear me okay, right? So I like to be close to that. I might even walk among you and just, I might even sit down next to you one time, except we're in the chairs. Oh, here's one, good, okay. Thank you so much for having me. Let me tell you some precursors of all of this. One thing is, the newspaper actually got this right, but they tried to diminish it because I always share the stage with racists and what else to say? Extremists, people who believe in the Constitution. I always share the stage with them. But it did say, oh, white supremacists and racists, that I share the stage with them. I don't always pick the people who are on stage with me. It's not my meeting. If you had people like that here today, I don't pick them, okay? However, just so you know, my mother taught me very well that all people are equal. All people. I don't care what color you are. I love you. I hope you stand with us for freedom. And I hope you understand that you are welcome here. Maybe not some of the reporters that we've dealt with lately, but we'll still, yeah, I tell them, come to the meeting, you might learn something. That's right. Okay? My thing is, I don't believe anybody could come to one of these, is this too much? Okay, all right, good, thank you. We hope everybody comes and wants to learn and that we can take some of the ignorance out of your life. You will not hear very many Sheriff Mack opinions. I didn't travel all this way, and I don't even know where I came from right now. I've been traveling with the Arise USA tour. I know that we started in Battle Mountain, Nevada, and then we've been to Texas and Arkansas and Montana. I don't really remember where we were before here, and I'm going to Coeur d'Alene this afternoon. And then we're traveling on the buses again, and we're going to culminate that with a fantastic sunrise ceremony at Mount Rushmore on the 4th of July. And I think you can still make it. You know, if it was too crowded, I know that they said there was something about 350, but I don't, you know, there's plenty of room there at Mount Rushmore. In fact, I was just there for the Red Pill Expo just 4 or 5 weeks ago. So my heart is really full today, just because of everything that's been happening, and it's been so quick. And I want to thank Julie for everybody who made this happen. I want to thank Sheriff Rummel for being here today. In fact, Sheriff Rummel, please take a recognition stand here. And we really hope that this message goes nationwide, because I don't think we have a lot of time. But you know, I'm not into dates. Oh, the economy's going to crash on September 15th. You know, I don't get into that. Is the economy going to crash? That's inevitable sometime. I mean, it's been living on borrowed time for such a long time. And I'm not some economist, but I do know this: once that your national debt is 50% more than your GDP, and actual debt is like 1,000% of your GDP, then your economy's in trouble. So everybody should be prepared for that. Right. And enough said of that. This is not a preparedness meeting, although I wouldn't mind having one. But make sure you have your supply of food, guns and ammo for 10 years. It's really hard to get ammo lately, I know, but you should have already been getting that before all this happened. Okay. Also, another thing that just recently got my attention is another abuse and another problem that Biden is causing. It's probably Obama running everything anyway. Biden is not very well. But he says he's going to add $80 billion to the IRS, because they're just not getting after us enough, are they? And we actually train sheriffs and county commissioners and everybody in the county to tell the IRS to stay the hell out of our counties, because you're a criminal organization. A few politicians that I've ever said we need to abolish the IRS, but it never happens, does it? And both Republicans and Democrats have allowed the IRS to continue to bully us, to harass us, to oppress us, to abuse us, and to put us in prison for the most ridiculous reasons. And so This McAfee that just committed suicide, supposedly, the IRS says he should be in prison for 30 years because he didn't pay enough taxes. 30 years. And the FDA just put Amish farmers in prison because they don't get permission to not pasteurize their milk. And so they're going to prison. A good man that I work with very closely, his name is Sam Gerard, and he's from Bath County, Kentucky. And he made a salve out of chickweed. Do any of you know what chickweed is? I didn't even know what chickweed is. Yeah, you herbologists, of course, you herbologists know what chickweed is. But he made a salve out of chickweed. It's not a controlled substance, okay? It's not drugs. And he made that out of his garden. He put it in a salve and he sold it. And he got 6 years in prison. And we were helping him. And so this is what our government's doing today. It's creating criminals. It's not discovering them. It is creating criminals out of good, law-abiding people. And I'm very much against that. And so we are all about complete and total belief that we are all created equal. Okay? There is no white supremacy. Doesn't exist. There's no such thing. You believe it? That still doesn't make it true. I don't care who you are. I don't care. You're welcome to this meeting, and you're welcome to join us in the holy cause of liberty. Everyone. Okay? That's it. And I'll tell you the because on that really quickly. The because is, if there's exceptions, it's always going to go around to everyone sooner or later. It's going to be us. We're already there. We are the group now. Gun owners especially are the ones that have to get to the back of the bus. And you know, if I choose to be the back of the bus, that's fine. But government cannot force me to the back of the bus. In junior high, we like to sit at the back of the bus. But anyway, folks, I want you to know, very little will be my opinion. I will even stop and tell you, okay, this is a Sheriff Mack opinion. This is my opinion. I'm going to show you the evidence. I'm going to show you absolute proof that what we're talking about today is true, and that we should have constitutional counties, and that we should absolutely have constitutional sheriffs. Every sheriff is constitutionally elected. Some say just because they aren't constitutionally elected that they're constitutional sheriff. No, saying so doesn't make it true. Your actions make it true. And so the doctrine of interposition, we will go over that today. We'll go over my Supreme Court case. Because you know what? There's only been one time in U.S. history, one time, where sheriffs sued the federal government, took it all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and won. And you know what the issue was? Government overreach. And this decision is the most powerful 10th Amendment decision in the history of our country. And of course, the expert says, McAdam, says that I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. No, I'm not. I'm reading my own decision. There's a big difference. And I'm going to show, I gladly should tell him to come here. I'll give him a copy of the decision. Look it up. Cornell University does a great review of it. But that decision says, quote, we have held, however, because there was another decision that said that, New York versus U.S. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction, end quote. Why would we be? But don't you wish your state legislature knew that? And all of them? So, and this is my opinion. I know we're a bunch of country bumpkins out here in the West and in Arizona, but I guarantee you that we can run our own education and the Grand Canyon without the federal government's help. So, I guess we have a year's supply of water up here now, which is nice to know. And we're going to just keep this down here so I can grab it. But anybody videoing this is probably not going to be on the seat. Oh, I don't see it. Okay, we're going to get moving here. So, I want to tell you a little background. What brought me? Oh, let me check. Julie, where are you? Anybody? Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Too much information. Am I going till noon?
Yes, sir.
I am going till noon. And should we have a break during, like, at an hour and a half?
That would be awesome if you'd like to, yes, sir.
So in law enforcement, that's almost required. Are the donuts not in the lobby? I don't, but the people who might do the video, might. Can he record it?
I'm sorry?
Can he record it?
Yes, as long as you talk to us ahead of it.
All right, so in my humble opinion, it's just that we have too much government, and Jefferson said that he learned throughout his entire career that the worst government that ever happened is because it's too much government. And I don't think there's any question about that. Anyway, with all the crises going on in our country, where can we turn? When government becomes oppressive, and Jefferson asked this question, when all government shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks provided and become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated. I will be showing you how we've come full circle on a lot of that. We've come right back to the abuses of King George III and the English Parliament back in the 1770s and prior to that. And what do? I know we wait, according to Sokol, you have to wait to go to the Supreme Court, pay $500,000 to $1 million, $2 million, take 5 to 10 years to stop one single abuse. Our case cost, back in the, when we first filed this in 1994, it cost about $400,000. And 3.5 years, and my job. How did I lose this? By suing the federal government. In a small town, this became very controversial. I became a big fish in a small town, and it just didn't fit. And I lost my third election because of this, and I hadn't won at the Supreme Court until 9 months later after that. When everybody's always going to lose and he doesn't know what he's doing, he just wants to be an activist. Yeah, it cost me my election, and I thought it was a horrible day at the time. One of the best things that ever happened. Since then, I've traveled to every state, all 50. I really love the meetings in Hawaii. My wife rarely comes, but if I'm going to Hawaii, she always wants to go. You ladies are awesome. But anyway, I love what I've been doing. I love liberty, and I've dedicated my life to it, and hopefully this will make a difference in your life today. But I will show you the evidence of what I'm talking about. And so we're going to quote Thomas Paine, Founding Fathers, Jefferson and Madison, and a lot from my Supreme Court case, a lot. And so this McAdam guy who said that just about everything I do is born out of the Posse Comitatus, I've never read that law. I don't know what he's talking about. Just about everything that I do and say, and what brought me to you today is based on one simple thing. I started a lawsuit against the Clinton administration. A few other sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit. Prince from Montana, Ravalli County, Jay Prince and I ended up at the Supreme Court December 4th, 1996. And on June 27th, tomorrow, June 27th will be the 24th anniversary of this decision. And we should be celebrating this. It is absolutely amazing. What led me to do this is way back when I was a rookie cop in Provo, Utah, I was converted to the Constitution. And one day I'm writing this lady a ticket, and my life changed forever. Just by writing a little ticket. Well, I wrote it, but I didn't give it to her. And let me tell you what happened. I'm parked at 600 West, 300 South, right next to Franklin Elementary School. I'm just south of the intersection facing north. And I'm the only living thing within 150 yards of that intersection. No one's around, nothing. Nobody's over at the school. Nobody's near the intersection. There's not kids playing in the street or in their yard. I'm the only thing there, and I'm in a marked police car. And this lady runs the stop sign right in front of me. And after she gets about halfway through the intersection, she looks around, and she sees me, and she throws her arms up in the air as if to say, What else could go wrong today? She immediately pulls over. I don't even have to turn on my red and blue lights. She's already pulled over. I get in behind her. I turn on my red and blue lights because anybody in traffic that comes behind me, I want to make sure they see me, don't run over me. And so I turn them on then, and I walk up to her, and she already has her license and registration out the window. And it was obvious that this lady was having a horrible day, and I was just about not to make it any better. And her kids were fighting, and I saw exactly why she ran through the stop sign. She had about 5 or 6 kids that were really giving her a hard time. She was trying to settle them down, and she lost her track of where she was on the road, went through the stop sign. Okay? Should every one of you ladies get a ticket for that? They could maybe imagine you have too. Okay. You're not her, are you? I didn't want to. I really hope someday I'm giving this presentation and she comes up and hugs me because I owe her so much. So I start writing the ticket. And she was in a very $250 car. In fact, it was a Datsun compact station wagon. Datsun. Primer gray showing through, bald tires, ugly, horrible car. It was obvious that this lady didn't have the money for this ticket if it was just $5. And I think then it was about $35. This is 1983. And I'm just filling out the ticket. Okay? This is going to be easy, folks, because she's not even putting up a fight. She's not crying. She's not, what would you do if this was your mother and all the kids are doing this? Yeah, my mom had 6. I can understand that. And we weren't very nice sometimes. She said nothing. She stared through the windshield, just looking out. She didn't care what the kids were doing now. There were some of them still crying and fighting. She wasn't there. And so I finished, and at the end of the ticket, you sign your name and your serial number. I did that. And then I looked down at this dejected, depressed woman. I looked at her snotty-nosed kids. I looked at her crappy old car. And then I looked at me. And I asked myself a few questions. I said, Mac, is there anything you're doing here that's helping this family? Is there anything you're doing here that's making this a better place to live? And is there anything you're doing here that's bringing honor to the badge you wear on your chest? And I knew the answer to all of them, and now I'm more depressed than she is. And I decided she was not getting a ticket that day, and I walked away with that ticket, which is actually against the rules. I don't know if it's against the law, but it was against the rules. You fill out a ticket, you have to go to the judge, you get it dismissed, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I just went back to the station. I was only 3 blocks from the station. I took the ticket, tore it up, put it in the trash can, and I wondered the rest of my shift. Believe me, I didn't write any more tickets that night. I wondered the rest of my shift, which was swing shift, and get off at 11. And I said, why am I doing this? Why do we even have government? I got so fundamental with this whole thing that I said, I have to know why we have government and why I'm doing this to people every day.
Amen.
And what happened to really protecting and serving? Where did public service go? If I was really a creative public servant, maybe I would have said, look, man, I know, no harm, no foul, you didn't hurt anybody, thank goodness. If you're going to discipline your kids, and right now, look out in the check, look, there's a school right there. No fences on the school. Yeah. You can go play at the playground for a while. Let them get some of that Tasmanian devil energy out of them, and go let them play for 15 minutes. And if you ever have to discipline them, pull over. But I'm glad you're okay, and I'll see you next time. Why does she need a ticket? It's a learning experience, yes. But I think she learned. She didn't want to run that stop sign. She didn't need to. So we all learned a lesson. I leave, and I don't gouge her. And I didn't want to be a tax collector. I wanted to be a cop. Okay? I didn't want to. So anyway, the next day I came back to shift early, And I said, I have got to find out. And I went into our library there, all these books and law books, you know, and it didn't help at all. And I didn't have much time. And so I was walking around the city center, and I walked into the city clerk's office. And I just stood there. And I don't know why I'm there, really. I'm just looking. I'm trying to find the answer to all this. And I found it right now. And she goes, Officer Mack, can I help you? And I do not know why I said this. I go, when I took my job here, did I take an oath of office? She goes, yeah, you signed it. You have to sign it. And I go, I signed it? And when she saw my incredulity, she immediately got up and made me a copy of it. It's in my personnel file. And she handed me that, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go quit my job right there. I'm leaving. I'm not even going to go on shift. I'm not giving 2 weeks' notice. I'm taking off my Sam Brown gun belt. I'm taking off my badge. I'm taking off my gun and all that. And I'm leaving it on the chief's desk. Well, I never made it to the chief's desk. Because in between the city center and the police department is a lobby. There's soda pop machines there and vending machine. And I stopped and I paused and I said, what is my wife going to say to me? When I go home in partial uniform and I tell her I just quit my job. Now I have this conversation with her. And she's not even there, okay? You have to remember this. Man, you know what I'm talking about. Your wife becomes your subconscious. And your subconscious. And so I'm having this talk with my subconscious, my wife. And she says, so Mac, you got a case of the guilt. You're a liar and a hypocrite. You don't keep your oath. You don't even know about it. You never read the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah. And so she goes, well, you can't, so we can't make the house payment. Can't get the kids new school clothes. And I can't go shopping today. And so I said, yeah, I'll get another job. I'm young, I'm strong, not all that smart, but I'll try and do my best. I know I can get a job. She goes, well, could you do me a favor? I go, go. Absolutely anything. You're in the driver's seat here. This is your meeting. She goes, could you consider keeping your job and just stop being a liar and a hypocrite? Why did I do that? Repentance. I can repent and I can keep my job. Yes. And so, you see how you ladies are? You win the argument and you're not even there. So I started studying. And I went home after shift started and I got the World Book Encyclopedia that my grandma sold us. And it's a big one. United States Constitution. And I got that one, and I kept it in my patrol car for about 3 weeks. And anytime I wasn't on a call, and anybody in law enforcement knows there's boring days, and I'd be reading the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights. And you know the Bill of Rights, because of what just happened with me and that lady, which of the Bill of Rights has really knocked me for a loop?
8.
8, thank you. No excessive fines or bail, no cruel and unusual punishment, and sometimes tickets are all free.
That's right.
You know? They are. Or your insurance goes up, sometimes you lose your license, you gotta go and take these classes, and then jobs won't hire you, and oh my gosh, it's crazy. That gets really crazy. And so, I'm loving what I'm reading. I'm loving the Bill of Rights. And then another miracle. As if the lady wasn't enough. Another miracle. I noticed on the training bulletin board a class called The Constitution for Law Enforcement Officers. And the instructor's name, Dr. W. Cleon Skousen. And this is certified police training for the state of Utah. Utah Post certified training. And I took 2 days off and went to it. Shouldn't have to take 2 days off for certified training, but they wouldn't let me go otherwise, so I took it off. And I knew him, I knew Dr. Skousen a little bit. He worked in the FBI with my father, and I said, I'm going to go hear this. In 2 days, we did not talk about traffic tickets. We did not talk about case law. We studied his book and his program called The Making of America. And folks, let me tell you, you cannot bypass the basics and think you're going to understand the rest of our government system. You cannot bypass the basics. And that's what we did for 2 days, 16 hours of training. And while I was sitting there, I was converted to the Constitution of the United States and to our founding fathers. And I took another oath while I was sitting there, only me and God heard it. And I said, I will never be on the wrong side again. About 6 years later, so no, five and a half years later, some crazy people from Arizona, where I'm from, started calling me and asking me to move home. I have 11 years with Provo PD, asked me to move home to Arizona and run for sheriff. And this is the first time my wife ever agreed with me that her parents were crazy. We did not want to do this. We had no desire. I'm climbing the ladder at Provo PD, everything's going great, kids are loving school, the church is right across the street, the school is about 150 feet to the north of us. It's all wonderful. Great place to live, and I love my job, and we were happy. And then, you know, when things are going great, the in-laws always call. And her mom never takes no for an answer. She's the worst, best salesman in the world. And so they just kept calling, usually her mom, and I would just hand the phone to my wife, and she'd say, leave us alone, we're not coming, you know? And so one night, I told my wife, I said, well, let's just weigh the pros and cons and write them down, and we'll send them to your mom and dad, and they'll have to see that they have to leave us alone. That didn't work either. And then one day, I was a detective at the time, so I was plain clothes, had an unmarked car, but I had to go in uniform to some parade event, and I was in uniform, and I got back, and there was something in the air. I don't know what happened entirely. I don't. But I came home in uniform. My wife had something on her mind. I could tell she just had something on her mind. I had something on mine. And I said, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And she goes, what are you thinking? And I said, I'm thinking that I'm never going to wear this uniform again. She goes, that's what I was thinking. And 3 weeks later, we moved home and I ran for sheriff.
Nice.
I don't get it, folks. And you want to talk about an unlikely election? I'd never worked in law enforcement in Arizona or in my county, hadn't lived there for 12 years. And I come back and say, I'm an experienced lawman, make me your sheriff. New blood and old blood seemed to pay off, and I barely won the primary, and then I beat the incumbent in the general election, and then 4 years later, I was reelected. The newspaper said I was only a one-term sheriff. I don't know how we can't look that up on Wikipedia to know that I was a two-term sheriff, 8 years instead of 4, but it was the second term that all this happened. And my wife and I we get elected, and my wife and I always talk about what a miracle it was that we got elected, that we went there and did it in the first place.
Yes, it is.
It was such a miracle.
Yeah.
And when I tell her I'm coming home to sue the federal government, instead of telling me I'm crazy to go golfing or go do something else and come back and we'll talk about it, because there's no way she would ever let me. She would say no today. So there's no way she would, no way. So anyway, she must have been having a bad hair day or something. But she said, now we know why you were supposed to be sheriff. This is it. So that's the backdrop for this, because then, when I'm sheriff, and we're at a Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix, and there's only 15 counties in Arizona, so they're really big. 15 counties and 13 sheriffs at the meeting, and 3 agents of the BATF, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, bring us a 25-page document that is detailing, and they tell us, this document details what you have to do in order to enforce the Brady bill. And what the sheriffs are looking at each other, we're going, whoa. And I'm telling you, you never heard so much cussing in your life. Because that document detailed that if we don't do this, we're subject to a year in prison and a $10,000 fine or both. If we don't go along with the federal government, they're going to arrest us. Wow. No negotiation. unfunded mandate. Of course, would I have done it with money? No, we're not going to do it anyway. And I'm the only one in the entire country that has filed this lawsuit, and I'm by myself, the Lone Ranger. And 5 weeks later, oh, thank God, Sheriff Prince filed. Same lawsuit, and boy was I glad, because I told my wife this, I'm the only one doing this. They're going to squash me like a pumpkin seed. And then, amazingly, a whole bunch of sheriffs, 7 out of 3,080 sheriffs, 7 did this lawsuit. Were we wrong, or were the rest wrong? Anyway, what we should have said, what we should have said is no. And I learned that from the case, and the reporter who said that I said that, I did say that. We didn't need to file suit. We don't have to ask permission, especially from federal courts, to keep our oath of office. You do your job. Like Sheriff Rogers in Elkhart County, when they went after an Amish farmer in his county, who would have gone to jail and prison because he didn't pasteurize his milk. He would have gone to prison had it not been for Sheriff Rogers in Elkhart County. And Sheriff Rogers told the FDA that if they came back to his county and tried to annoy this man again, that he would arrest them. And then, of course, they threatened to arrest Rogers with a felony obstruction of justice. Do they not know that all they had to put was a 2 little letters at the beginning of that? Obstruction of injustice is what he was doing. He was doing his job. And so then Sheriff Rogers calls me, and we devise a response to the federal government, who, when they quoted the supremacy clause saying that the federal government is supreme, and we all know they're not, because who formed the federal government? The states did. Okay, you're not above the creator. You are the creature of the states. Okay, we formed you, and we delegated certain powers to you. That's it. That's all we did. Very limited powers, so that this would never happen. Well, we fell asleep, didn't we? And we started taking federal money, and we just wanted to be buddies with all that money. Regardless of that, we stopped it. And then Rogers and I said that. So you know what he put? When it says pursuance thereof to the Constitution, that you have, the only time that the federal government is supreme is when what? They make laws and do whatever's pursuant to the Constitution. Right. You know what the attorney for the FDA put? ... during that part, and he left it out. So we wrote back and said, hey, you left out the part where it says you have to follow the Constitution. And so why would you lie about that? Why would you leave that part out? Because they don't think they have to follow the Constitution. They really don't. Okay, so we sent that off to him, and then David Hostetler was the Amish farmer in question, and he got a certified letter from the FDA saying everything had been dropped. They didn't do anything else. They left Sheriff Rogers alone, and they didn't come back in that county. They still haven't for 10 years. So we're going to show you all the evidence of all of this stuff, okay? And I still have that letter that we sent out. Sometimes people want to get that letter. But there's another letter on our website that I really want you guys to see. Go to CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Then go to the top and go to info. And then there'll be, on that next link where the page comes up, go to the bottom and it says letter PDF. You can print it out, whatever. This is a letter that Elko County helped devise for us, and about 4 sheriffs, including former sheriff now, Brad Rogers, who's now a county commissioner in Elkhart County, Indiana, because they have term limits there. You only serve 2 terms. And now he's county commissioner. And he goes on the tour sometimes for me when I can't make every stop. Like right now, the tour's off without me. And then I'm meeting him back up tonight in Coeur d'Alene. So, oh, where's my driver? Not here yet. Oh, there they are. There's my chauffeurs. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Sheriff Rogers and a bunch of other sheriffs and Elko County devised that letter. Do you know what it says? is a warning to all federal and state agents that if they come in our county and violate the Bill of Rights, that we will pursue them criminally. And that letter will totally surprise you. And it's exactly what all of us have been praying for. And Lander County, Nevada, and Elko County, Nevada, have declared themselves to be constitutional counties. And both counties have the support of their county attorney. That hardly ever happens. And they're doing that, and to give emphasis to that, and to show the world that they really are serious about becoming a constitutional county, both counties, Lander County on May 15th, Elko County on June 20th, declared themselves to be members of the CSPOA. Now, we're not the end. We're just an avenue. We're just a means to get to the end. Liberty is the end. If you use the CSPOA to promote liberty and the Holy Cause of Liberty, that's what it's for. But the ultimate goal is to enforce, defend, and restore the United States Constitution. And thereby what? Protect individual liberty and our God-given rights. And folks, let me make sure. What you're going to see mostly today is a political, I hate that word though, secular, if you will, restoration and resurrection of the Constitution. And does the Constitution indeed, going back to what I just said, does it indeed, was its intent to protect our God-given natural rights? Yes. Yes. And so yes, this is a way that we can show that government is supposed to be doing that. And where do we see the purpose of all government? Which foundational document talks about the purpose of all government? Declaration of Independence. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Almost sounds religious, doesn't it? Well, of course it is. Amen. That government is charged with protecting our God-given rights. This is a very religious obligation. And we'll be talking about the doctrine of interposition while we go through this today. And you're going to learn the next 2 hours what it really means to have a constitutional county and a constitutional government. And how do we take back America? One constitutional county at a time. And hopefully, state by state. But we can create these pockets of constitutional counties all across the country. There's 3,000 sheriffs across the country. We seriously would have a goal of making about 800 to 1,000, maybe 20, 25%. And we'll do it. There will be no stopping them after that. And that's our goal. Is any of this professing violence? Absolutely not. And let us make that very clear. One, I've never been associated with any militia group. I actually resigned from Oath Keepers, and I still like Oath Keepers, and I still like Stewart Brothers. But they were going a little bit too militia for me, and security guard across the country, and I resigned 6 years ago. Okay? Still like the organization, but it wasn't what we professed at CSPOA, and I didn't want the two to be crossing over too much. So I quit. So now in the newspaper article it talks about how I'm this big supporter of Oath Keepers and this militia group and all. Never been involved in a militia group, except for, I guess, all able-bodied males are part of the militia. So I don't deny that. But I've never been a part of any militia group. Never. Yet the newspaper, of course, pegs me anti-government militia. And so this is what I want to say about anti-government. We are not anti-government. Right. We are anti-corruption. Can you take that where that play thing, little window is up there? Get out of that. Yeah, good. Okay, right arrow. Yeah, I know. All right, now this This is a clip from New York. Who's going to teach us something from New York? Okay, well, it's Albany, so it's not New York City, so maybe we got a chance. I want you to know that at the CSPOA, this is all we are after. Everybody got it? This is all we are after. Raymond, this is all we are after. Okay? You haven't seen this before, have you? Okay, good. The reason you came here. Okay, watch this news story and watch what happens. Play. Spacebar.